For the 93rd time in football, it's time for the Battle of the Bricks, Ohio and Miami, this time at Yager Stadium in Oxford on Saturday. Time for a game week preview. I'm Russ Eisenstein. We're presented by the Athens County Convention and Visitors Bureau on the web at AthensOhio.com. The Bobcats are 2-2. The RedHawks are 0-4. To each his own, right? Everybody that's involved in a rivalry within this league says theirs is the best. Here at Ohio and the folks at Miami most certainly believe that this rivalry is the best in the MAC. There are a couple other good ones too, and a couple other games that will be played on Saturday. Central and Western Michigan have a key contest in the Western Division. They'll play for the 87th time. Kent State and Akron don't like each other. They'll play for the 69th time, and Northern Illinois and Ball State will play for the 44th time. Later on this year, it will be Bowling Green and Toledo for the 81st time. Of course, this is not the longest standing rivalry in the league. If I gave you a couple of guesses, would you guess that Eastern and Central Michigan have played more than anybody else? Well, they do, and they will for the 94th time coming up later this year. So for a brief time, Ohio and Miami and Central and Eastern will be tied at 93 meetings, but then the Eagles and Chips will play later on this season. This is an important contest in the history of the league, obviously, because Ohio is the last charter member left within the league. Miami and Western Michigan came in a year later. The Bobcats are enjoying their greatest success that they've ever had against Miami, winning 9 of the last 10, including last year, the biggest margin of victory ever in the series, 34-3, Ohio winning over the RedHawks. And of course, Ohio won last time in Oxford on that Josiah Yazdani field goal at the end of the contest. So Ohio's enjoying success, and the RedHawks still have the all-time edge in the series with 52 victories, but Ohio is narrowing that gap. Of course, Miami plays in the 5th longest rivalry on the Division I level when they meet Cincinnati. They played last week. That was the 121st meeting in that series. So remember, the success that Ohio is having in this series is important. The success the Bobcats are having overall as a program is important too. Ebbs and flows, right? Miami's history, tradition rich. They're trying to build it back.
Miami football hasn't had a winning season since the 10-4 MAC championship campaign of 2010. They've gone 13-51 since. 2013 was winless. 2015 was 3-9, and 2 of the 3 victories were in the final 3 weeks. This follows a time when the RedHawks did have a firm grip on the East Division. There was a stretch there when they won 4 division titles in 5 years. Chuck Martin is in his 3rd season as their head coach, and by all accounts, even though they are winless, 0-4, there are signs that they're getting better. In Week 1, they did score 21 at Iowa, but lost 45-21. Week 2 was one of the 5 MAC losses to FCS schools this year, 21-17 to Eastern Illinois in their home opener. But in Weeks 3 and 4, they pushed 2 good teams and held down some productive offenses. They lost by just 7 in those weeks, 31-24 at home to Western Kentucky, and 27-20 in their rivalry game at Cincinnati, where the RedHawks did lead going into the 4th quarter. Sophomore quarterback Billy Ball made his first career start in last year's game against Ohio. He threw 4 interceptions and completed just 8 passes. This year, he's thrown for 8 touchdowns. He had 8 all of last season. He's 4th in the MAC in passing yards per game with 276. 6'4" sophomore wide receiver James Gardner can make plays and leads the receiving corps. He had 3 catches last year. He has 18 this year with 324 yards and 5 touchdowns, scoring in each game. Miami has just 2 rushing touchdowns. Sophomore Alonzo Smith has 1 of them, leads the team with just 209 yards on the ground. Sophomore linebacker Junior McMullen is the MAC East Defensive Player of the Week, with his career-high 14 tackles at Cincinnati. He leads the team in stops with 31. It's a unit with 7 sacks and 4 interceptions. Sophomore DB DeAndre Montgomery has 2 of those picks. It's important to remember 2 things about Miami. They are still incredibly young. Each of the players we focused on here are sophomores, and from a history standpoint, RedHawk football ranks 1st all-time Mid-American Conference wins, MAC championships, bowl appearances, bowl victories.
Injuries are going to be a major concern for the Bobcats moving forward. Who's going to carry the ball out of the backfield? Well, your guess is as good as mine. We'll find out. It's a banged-up unit, but remember, it's a deep unit, and all hands are on deck, so when somebody carries the ball, we'll tell you who they are on Saturday. Of course, the weather is going to play a big part in this contest, too. Temperatures expected to be in the 60s, and there's a chance of rain. So that will affect the passing game. Greg Wyndham has been pretty good. 7 touchdown passes, just 1 interception. Miami relies on that passing game. So can they get the running game going? You heard those stats in the middle of our preview here. So that will be important for them. Ohio and MAC openers under Frank Solich, 8-3. Solid tone setter. That's what both of these teams want. And if they're going to drive to Detroit, winning the opener is incredibly important in MAC play. We'll have you set on the Ohio IMG Sports Network. 1:30 airtime, 2:30 kick. Rob Cornelius, Ryan Boyd, and I will paint the picture for you. It's also on ESPN3. That's our Game Week preview. Battle of the Bricks, edition 93. Our Game Week preview is presented by the Athens County Convention and Visitors Bureau on the web at AthensOhio.com. All right, we've got you set. For Derek Mashiro, I'm Russ Eisenstein. Enjoy it, everybody. Ohio and Miami. This is Bobcat TV.